stuff.
Cisco.
Where do you want to start?
How about Cisco?
Cisco's buying Splunk.
Cisco has some money to burn. Hefty was it $28 billion?
Mm-hmm. Something along those lines. And interesting enough, so this was announced
yesterday, right?
This was like recently, yeah.
Oh, yeah, this was like
before.
Yesterday, the 21st. San Jose and San Francisco.
Off the presses. So I kind of forget about this sometimes with Splunk and where they sit. Like, I still tend to think of them as just an observability play and being able to go back and kind of do logging and really like logging,
a SIM, right? Like you always think of Splunk and a SIM as my initial reaction.
Yeah, I always I don't know, because I don't touch Splunk every day. I always kind of forget they're there, and I really tend to, I guess, downplay it in my head as to like capabilities and what they are. So like I'm a little naive about it. I'm like, oh, they're logging, and then Cisco buys them, and kind of the top build item is we want to do like this whole integrated security detection and threat detection thing. So to your point, very much like a SIM, SIEM, whatever you want to call them, and putting that all together, which is like makes perfect sense, right? Like that's what Splunk is.
Yep.
But just I don't know. I completely lost sight of it, and then to see Cisco buying them was interesting. It's like, yeah, like you said, money to burn someplace.
Yeah, and it's an interesting play, right? Because like my first thought was, why in the world would Cisco buy Splunk? Because on the flip side of it, I always think of Cisco as, I guess, telephony, but then networking. Like they've always been networking hardware to me, where Splunk is this SIEM software, and it's, I guess my initial thought was everything goes through your switches. So if you have a bunch of logging with Cisco switches and they can somehow integrate Splunk to do a bunch of stuff there, or maybe it's just Cisco not wanting to be quite so such a narrow pillar, wanting them to try to diversify a little bit. Like arguably, I'm not in the Cisco and Splunk space every day like you. I sit in the Microsoft one. So it was just an interesting acquisition for me of why, I think, more than anything else.
I think it's another good example of consolidation in the marketplace around tighter integrations for hardware and software. So Cisco has kind of its software stack, right? Like you have the other iOS that runs on Cisco switches and routers and things like that. But they really didn't have the software story that Splunk has. So now you marry those two together, let them marinate a little bit, and see what comes out the other side. I think that's a probably goodness thing for customers. Who knows? We'll see. Licensing and all that stuff tends to change as these types of things execute and go all the way through. But yeah, I think it just speaks to that further consolidation that you see across the technology space, where kind of key players that are entrenched in one area, only software, only hardware, they do see these kind of natural synergies by coming together and building potentially more holistic products. And you see it across tech, right? There's certainly the Apples of the world. We could talk about like Microsoft doing it like to the degree they do with hardware. You've got things like this. You even see it in like cars, Tesla, Rivian, like electric car manufacturers kind of trying to own this entire stack and have it go and end to end and get it all together. So I think this one will be kind of cool. Splunk's all over the place. While I don't touch it day to day, I run into customers every single day who use it and ask for like an integration that doesn't exist. trying to get them going and get all that stuff going. I think it'll be all very good. So it not only gives Cisco like a solid software play and really into that like threat detection, observability market, it also gives them an interesting inroad to cloud providers, right? Think about like AWS and GCP, like, and having sync points in Splunk to multiple offerings within the hyperscalers and public cloud. It starts to become kind of an interesting play and potentially exposes Cisco to new customers as well. So we'll see. 28 billion is a fair chunk of change. I thought it was also interesting that they expected to be cash flow positive by the end of their first fiscal year after they close. So even though they're gonna spend it, like, they think they're gonna make it all back rapidly.
I agree. And I can't quite. Let's do this. So I'm curious, Scott. This is the other thing. You know what else speaks to... they didn't put it in there quite as much as I thought they did. It's also interesting that, speaking to the world we're in today, how many times they mention that mention AI in the article. Lead in security and observability in the age of AI to established leaders in AI, which I don't know that I ever thought of Cisco as an established leader in AI. AI-enabled security and observability, data and AI.
They certainly don't make GPUs. That is not something that's happening. But what they do have is data. And by buying Splunk, they get a lot more data. And as we've seen with things like large language models, LLMs, OpenAI, all that kind of stuff, the more data you have and the larger the corpus, the potential is there to do more interesting things with it. It really, if you go and read between the lines on this one, like, that's what this one is. Like, there is potential there to get things going.
Yes, it is interesting. So other than that, it just doesn't impact the Microsoft Cloud a whole lot, unless, like you said, there are plenty of people running stuff in Microsoft that are using Splunk for their SIM. Everybody tells me it's SIM in the US, Scott, and SIEM in other countries. I still don't know. I was talking to somebody else the other day that was like, it's SIM. It's always been SIM. I've never heard SIEM. But then a bunch of other people say SIEM. Whatever it is, people... people running Microsoft stuff that do run Splunk instead of Sentinel. Although I have been running into Sentinel more and more. So
yeah, it's the is that what it is? It's a U.S. versus Europe thing.
I maybe think it's a pronunciation of the vowels.
Yeah, the first time I encountered Sentinel, I was doing training over in Europe. So I learned it as SIEM. So that explains a whole bunch. And yeah.
There you go. That is the best explanation I have. Well, the only explanation I have ever gotten on whether it's a SIEM versus a SIM is country-based.
Yeah, you got it.
So
so they spent some money. They did some things. You know what else you can do? Here's a good pivot for you. If you're ready to spend money in other areas, and maybe not on Cisco and Splunk. Yeah, do you?
No.
We were chatting kind of before we started recording, but we have a rapid private preview to GA for Copilot in Microsoft 365.
Yes, it kind of came out of the blue, and we had some theories about how it kind of came out of the blue. But the other day, right? What day was this one? September 21, same day as Cisco was announced. There was an event in New York where Microsoft announced their vision for Copilot. So we finally now have a release of Copilot, or a release date. So they said, first step, they're unveiling a new visual identity, aka an icon, for Copilot. And we're going to start seeing that icon roll out across Copilots that are already there, because there are some Copilots already there, right? Like Power Apps already has some Copilot stuff.
Dynamics. Yep, they're all
GitHub,
out there and playing around.
But then the Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is the one that everybody seems to be waiting for until they found out they had to spend $30 per user per month on it, is going to be generally available for enterprise customers on November 1. So this does not appear, and I have not found it anywhere in this article, that there is going to be any sort of public preview of Copilot. It is going immediately from that private preview, like you said, straight into general availability on the 1st of November. So you have like 5 or 6 weeks to wait, Scott, and you can get Copilot if your company will pay for it.
It's interesting for this one if you look at how it's being integrated and rolling out, how they're using Copilot in Windows as a potential loss leader to build you into things like Bing Chat and the enterprise variations of it, and then everything else that comes along the way with M365 Copilot, integration with Teams, integration with all the M365 apps, the better together kind of security story around like security compliance. All that kind of stuff. But yeah, Copilot in Windows is a little trippy and in your face. If you have a chance, like I'd encourage anybody who didn't see the event. It was kind of this weird mixed hardware and software event kind of thing that happened in New York around Surface devices, and then all these Copilot announcements and all those kinds of things that came along. So but it does give you a sense for where it's integrating, where it's rolling into Windows, how it's going to start to look and kind of manifest across Office apps and things like that, which we've seen in the past. And then they had another interesting one that they announced, which I think this is nothing but goodness. I don't know how you found learning how to treat LLMs or how to kind of give them better prompts so that they give you your desired output and all those kinds of things. So it turns out that, getting an LLM to give you a desirable output is, a little bit harder than going in and just asking a question and firing and forgetting and seeing what happens. So they also announced Copilot Labs, which is going to be a web-based experience to get hands-on with particularly M365 Copilot, which I get the sense like it's actually like going to need some kind of poking and prodding, given the fixed meta prompt, and maybe if you wanted to go in a slightly different direction, things like that along the way. So they're also going to be actively training users around Copilots. I think that'll be interesting to see how many folks feel like they've all of a sudden had to become programmers and get away from some of their other stuff that's out there and available. So maybe with a little bit of lab time and getting hands-on across the product stack, that stuff starts to manifest and light up, and we can all see what it does.
Yeah, I will be interested to play with that, because it is like the whole meta prompts and all of that is still something I've been learning about, playing with, and by no means an expert in. But that is definitely, I think, the biggest learning curve. People think Copilot's going to come out, AI is here, you can just start asking it questions, which to some extent you'll be able to. Like Outlook is going to have summarize an email thread for me, or you're going to be able to ask Copilot to rewrite a paragraph, but then you're going to have to think through how do you want it to rewrite it? What type of voice do you want? You want it neutral, casual, professional? So I think it's going to vary too, and I think like there will be basic things you'll be able to do, but I think to really take advantage of it, there is definitely going to be a learning component of how do you tell AI to actually do what you want it to?
I've got a little tip for you, just because you mentioned the tone thing.
Yep.
I found tone to be very interesting with all the kind of variations of models that are out there. And I think it's one of the complaints that folks have when they see these models in their outputs is they look at them and they go, oh, well, that sounds kind of generic, or it sounds a little bit like a machine, or it reads like a machine wrote it, kind of thing. So a trick that I've been playing around with, I saw it on a YouTube video, is setting tone by providing examples of your own writing and then having them generated like with that style. So, you're kind of, are you familiar with how you can use variables inside of OpenAI and ChatGPT?
Ooh, I have not done anything with variables yet.
So you can have a variable. So say I wanted to create a variable like for like my writing style. So I create I tell the engine, hey, I want you to store some data about the way that I write inside the variable, Scott _writing _style.
Okay.
Whatever it happens to be. And then you say, I'm going to provide you some examples. And then you just say, okay, example 1 of Scott's writing style. And the way I've been doing it is just copying and pasting blog posts that I have out there, or kind of longer form posts that I've had that I think capture my writing style and conversational style, and putting those in. And you say, okay, store these in, that variable like Scott _writing _style. And then once you're done with that and it's got it stored and it understands, you go back and you say, okay, now I want you to do whatever the work is that I want you to do, but I want you to respond using the style that was stored in the previous variable Scott _writing style. And then it spits back something that I'm finding needs a little bit less editing.
Okay.
Both in ChatGPT 3.5, the 3.5 Turbo, and in the 4.0. Although I find myself still sticking to 3.5 Turbo these days as well. I'm not seeing a lot of additive benefit to being on 4.0 yet, but we'll see. I think it's a cool thing. So you should go explore variables if you haven't done that. Like if you've been working on prompts and conversational styles and tonality and things like that, particularly for you, because and maybe for folks who listen to this, like if you ever write like papers, anything like that internally, like something that you can provide to the language model to help it understand like your style, it's a little bit better and nothing but goodness.
Got it. So I'm curious, when you've been using the different models like the 3.5, the 3.5 Turbo, the 4, what have you been using it for? Has it been for summarizing stuff or for generating like net new ideas or rewriting stuff? When do you use those models?
Lots of summarization.
Okay.
And I think that's probably going to be the place that I use Copilot. Should they like broadly roll it out and make it available to everyone at Microsoft? I think that's the place that I would use it the most, particularly in my world where I spend a lot of time in email, Word, and Teams, often talking about and working towards the same kinds of things. Like for me, I think it'll be super powerful to have like a meeting summarization that also incorporates like the document we were discussing as an input, to be able to, get to whatever output that I'm kind of looking for along the way. But summarizations are a great place. I don't like using them for answers to questions. Like I'm really, really super scared of the hallucination kind of thing, and getting that going. So that's been all good. And then the other place I use it a lot is on the reference side of things, particularly when it comes to like syntax and not coding, but like day-to-day kinds of things. So PowerShell, use it a lot for KQL. And I have a feeling I'm going to use it a whole bunch in Excel as well, like once that rolls out a little bit more, but we shall see.
Got it. So I was curious because I heard the 4.0 model, and I've used for GPT-4 for summarizing like podcast transcripts. That 4 tends to do a little bit better with a summarization of that type of content. But I haven't done enough of them yet where I've sat down and actually compared to see what I like better. But I'm with you. I'm probably going to use it for a lot of summarization. I have used it to ask questions for it, but like you, I'm very worried about hallucinations. So when I'm asking for answers, I tend to use the Bing chat for enterprise, because not only does it give me an answer, but then it provides my references. So I treat that as a little bit of summarize your search results for me, is how I look at Bing chat for enterprise, or Bing chat, is summarize the answer to my question from what you know and what you can find online. But since it provides my references, I still always go back and check the references it provided to make sure it didn't misinterpret things. Or I've seen where it pulls from like 2 or 3 sources and gets them kind of mixed up and comes with an answer based on those 3. But it combined them very poorly, kind of like a kid misinterprets what their parent says or alters a word or two. I have seen Bing Chat do something similar. So when I do ask questions, I do it someplace where I can actually go verify the references and leverage it a little bit more as a summarization of a search.
Yeah, it's I mean, I'd be interested to know, like, this is another feedback thing that I'd love to hear from folks out there, just like, where are you using it to use it in similar ways? Or are you finding power in the whole GPT-4 and the ability to have plugins in use and all that kind of thing? Like, I'm really not using any of that stuff today either. So it'd be, I think, interesting to hear some learnings from other folks. While we're talking about the AI thing here,
okay,
I think it's important to kind of touch on, the way that it sounds like you're using ChatGPT, and I'm using it the same way. I'm certainly using it to augment and potentially make things a little bit easier. And I say potentially because, again, you got to go and learn this whole kind of meta prompt model and figure out how to do prompts. And it's almost like learning a new programming language, or picking up a new skill. Like it is taking a little bit to wrap my head around and be consistent with. But if you go and watch the event from the Surface and AI event, one of the interesting things of it is the tone. Like, if you remember when LLMs came out, everybody was talking about how there's the potential for these things to take jobs away.
Yep.
And not really be like augmenters, like over time, if I can teach an LLM to do this thing, then maybe I can, replace that person who's sitting at a desk, a frontline worker, call center, things like that. I think they're everybody's trying to walk that back a little bit. If you go listen to the tone and go read some of the blog posts and things, everything is about helping you do your work now and being very crystal clear that this isn't replacing your job. It's making your job better, faster, stronger. And you shouldn't worry so much about, a computer is going to step in one day and magically take your place kind of thing, which I thought that was a kind of nifty pivot, right? Just to hear everybody actually say it out loud and kind of commit words to blog posts and paper and things like that. That LLMs are here, but yeah, they're not going to take your jobs.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that tone. And watching some of the videos and listening to some of the interview questions and how they talked through it about even having AI and meetings and all of that, it's absolutely help you do your job better. Like in a meeting, focus on the meeting and let AI take care of the notes and the summarization and some of that stuff that before, and I know I do it in a meeting. You're trying to say, you're trying to listen, you're trying to ask questions, you're trying to take notes at the same time, where letting that AI help you do that note-taking process, do the transcriptions, all of that. That type of tone seemed to be, like you said, a lot of the focus on this. So the other interesting thing, pivoting a little bit, was all of this came out of the Surface event. And I had kind of seen that a Surface event was happening, and then all of a sudden this Copilot stuff came out the other day, and there was one headline that said an AI event, and I was like, I didn't see anything about an AI event, and it was the Surface event. So we got new Surface devices, but I don't believe the man behind the Surface was actually there for this event. So we were talking a little bit about, it's Panos, right? That's how you say his first name?
Mm-hmm.
Panos Panay is leaving Microsoft after 19 years. The guy behind a whole bunch of the Surface and Windows 11 and all of that, literally left days before, or announced it like days before the Surface event that happened yesterday, the 21st. He is going to Amazon, and all of a sudden this seemed to be a lot bigger focus on Copilot and less on Surface. But we do have some more Surface devices too. No Duo. Sorry, Scott. No more Surface Duo, but some more Surface.
I don't think you're ever going to see another one of those.
You know what? I don't. I hope they just quit trying to do phones. I'm tired of this. Let's do a phone like Nokia's and Windows Phone, and let's not. Now let's do a phone with Surface Duo, and now let's not. But there was a new Surface Hub, which that one actually surprised me a little bit too, because I'm sure you have a bunch of them at Microsoft, but I do not see Surface Hubs in the wild that much.
Well, I mean, I don't go into an office.
You know,
I'm a remote employee, so
you don't ever go.
I don't.
When are you going to start going to the office,
see them
Scott? You don't see them either.
I do not. So,
but we did get like a new Surface Go and a new Surface Pro, and what else was there? Was there a new Surface laptop? Surface Pro 10, Surface Go, Surface laptop, Surface Studio, and then the new Surface Hub. So if you're a Surface person, I am not, as I'm sure everybody that listens regularly is well aware. You have some new Surface devices to go spend your money on as well. I lost your link with this announcement. I don't know. Did I overwrite it with a search? You had a link. You sent me a link, and now it's gone.
Yes. I will put it back.
We'll put one in the show notes.
Show notes
in the Discord chat.
And over to Discord. One more for you before we kind of move off Surface and AI stuff. And just on the topic of kind of like LLMs and what's going on there, there's a super good podcast from Today Explained, folks at the New York Times, and it's titled "We Don't Know How AI Works." This has been one of the things that's kind of niggling in the back of my head is like, well, great, we've got these LLMs, but like, do we actually understand like holistically and end to end how they generate their outputs? Like, are they doing truly like formulaic responses? Are they, just going off the deep ends and hallucinating and all those kinds of things. So I recommend everyone go and listen to that. I thought it was kind of scary, eye-opening, all those kinds of things for where this stuff is headed.
I will have to go listen to that one as well, because that would be interesting to listen to that take on, I guess, is it their take? The researchers, do they interview people, or is it the New York Times like regular podcasters. I do not listen to Today Explained on any sort of regular basis.
No, it's them doing some interviews. So it's actually a two-part thing. So the first one was We Don't Know How AI Works, and the second one was called We're Trusting It Anyway. So I recommend giving both of those a listen. Today Explained is not New York Times, I guess Fox Media. Neither here nor there, but it is it kind of walks through both sides of the story and gets that stuff going. So eye-opening, especially like if you don't build these things, or you're just wondering how they come together, how they work, and what all that is.
Sounds good. Oh, anything else, Scott, that we want to talk about besides Cisco, AI, Surface, and all of that? I know there's some more news, but
there's always news stuff out there.
That might be a good spot.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, you're standing between me and a water park right now, Scott.
I'm between you and debugging some PowerShell and then your vacation. So.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about that. You can remind me, Scott. Put that on your list to talk about next week, because we can talk about me and my PowerShell. I made a mistake. All right.
Next week,
FYI,
PowerShell.
My PowerShell script is still running, Scott. It was not quick. So we can talk about some PowerShell fun.
Lots of restores from Recycle Bin is not just a quick metadata operation. But
yes,
that's neither here nor there. We'll talk about it next week. Thanks for the time.
Sounds good.
And enjoy the water park.
Thank you. I will do that. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Ben.